make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
In West Asia, every move shifts the world's balance. Wars, ceasefires, alliances, power never stands still. From Tehran to Tel Aviv, from Damascus to Doha, the West Asia Post cuts through the chaos to reveal the region that shapes the world. Because what happens in West Asia never stays in West Asia. This is the West Asia Post, the region's story, the world's impact.
Welcome to the West Asia Post. I am Rhythm Sharma, bringing you all the latest developments from a region which is engulfed in a raging war. In this episode, we cover every aspect of US-Israel war on Iran, from military to political to economic, and most importantly, the human cost of this conflict. We tell you what is Iran's strategy to outlast the superpowers in the war despite being heavily bombarded. Experts say that Iran is playing a long game and the war is only going to get more dangerous. We decode why NATO is not joining the US in its war and how Donald Trump is increasingly getting frustrated. All this is lined up, but first, the headlines. Is raging in Iran. Israel and US are continuing their attacks on the Islamic Republic. Tehran is also responding with fire and fury. Iranian attacks are not just centered on Israel, but also on American bases across West Asia. Now both US and Israel are feeling the pinch. This as American and Israeli interceptors are firing million-dollar missiles to intercept Iranian drones which cost few $1,000s. The sheer cost of survival is reaching a breaking point. We are witnessing a high-stakes gamble where Iran isn't trying to outgun the superpowers, but to outlast their weapons.
Precision strikes, fireballs lighting up the night sky. Iranian military facilities collapsing under relentless bombardment. The US and Israel say they are crippling Iran's war machine. But behind the explosions, analysts warn that Tehran may be fighting a very different war. A war that's designed not to win quickly, but to outlast these superpowers.
The United States military began major combat operations in Iran.
If no action was taken now, no action could be taken in the future.
America is winning.
We're going to continue to do well. We have the greatest military in the world by far.
But the UK would not join the initial strikes on Iran.
The hardest hits are yet to come from the US military.
Wave after wave of strikes by the Israel Defense Forces and the United States military have pounded Iranian military infrastructure. Command centers, missile storage sites, radar facilities, launch bases. From the air, the campaign looks devastating. Explosions ripple across bases. Hardened shelters collapse. Precision bombs carve through concrete as jets roar overhead. But the battlefield may tell a more complicated story, because Iran's strategy may not depend on winning the opening rounds. It may depend on surviving them. Military analysts say Tehran appears to be fighting a war of endurance. A strategy built around attrition, cost, and time. Iran's weapons are often far cheaper than the systems which are used to stop them. A single interceptor missile fired by air defense batteries can cost millions of dollars. In contrast, some Iranian drones cost only a fraction of that. Every incoming drone forces defenders to fire another expensive interceptor. Over days and weeks, that equation begins to matter. Reports suggest missile interceptor stockpiles across parts of the region are under pressure as the war drags on. Air defense systems must constantly reload to maintain the protective shield over cities and bases. Meanwhile, Iran continues to fire missiles, rockets, waves of drones. Even if many are intercepted, the strategy forces the defenders to keep spending. Iran has long prepared for this type of a conflict. Its doctrine emphasizes large numbers of relatively inexpensive weapons launched in repeated salvos. The goal is not just destruction, it is exhaustion. If the conflict stretches into months, supply chains, production lines, and ammunition stockpiles could become as important as battlefield victories. For now, these skies remain crowded with interceptors and incoming threats. But the deeper question is whether the war will be decided by technology or by endurance. Because in a long conflict, the side that lasts longer may ultimately hold the advantage.
Relentless bombardment, precision missiles, fighter jets dominating the skies. The United States and Israel say they're systematically dismantling Iran's military machine piece by piece. But beneath the mountains and deserts of Iran, a hidden network is preparing to fight back. Watch the next story as we piece together what is happening beyond the headlines.
American precision. Missiles streak across the sky. Israeli fighter jets dive toward hardened targets. Explosions ripple through military compounds as command centers and missiles bases are hammered from the air. The campaign by the United States Armed Forces and the Israel Defense Forces is entering a new phase. Military planners want total air dominance over Iran. Radar stations are being knocked out. Launch facilities are being hunted. Ammunition depots are being erased with surgical strikes. The goal is simple: cripple Iran's ability to fire back.
The United States military, together with the wonderful Israeli partners, continues to totally demolish the enemy far ahead of schedule and at levels that people have never seen before, actually. We're destroying more of Iran's missiles and drone capability every single hour, knocking them out like nobody thought was possible.
The cooperation is historic between the United States military and the IDF, between the United States military and the IDF, between the Air Force and the US Air Force. We continue to strike the targets of the terror regime in Iran and also against the terror elements in Lebanon, and the achievements are significant, but much work still lies ahead.
But as the bombardment intensifies across Iran, a deeper battlefield is emerging. Because much of Iran's war machine does not sit in open bases, it sits underground. For now, Iran is taking the hits, but it has a lot of firepower to sustain the fight.
So it's the missile stocks, the number that we are hearing that ranges from 2,000 to 5,000-6,000. The Iranian also put it as high as like 20,000+. So we really do not have the exact number. But nevertheless, with the passage of time, obviously, this will put a pressure on these missiles. With the passage of time, there will be more and more pressure on this, particularly if this is going to be a long and a drawn-out war. Apart from the missiles, obviously, you have the drones, and probably the number of the drones that Iran has is much higher.
For years, Iran has built an elaborate network of tunnels, mountain bunkers, and concealed missile depots scattered across the country. Some of them stretch for kilometers beneath solid rock. These underground complexes are designed to survive airstrikes. Missile can be stored deep inside reinforced chambers. Launchers can roll out from hidden tunnel exits. After firing, they disappear again beneath the earth. Western intelligence calls them some of the most resilient missile facilities in the region.
It is true that the US and Israel have a much higher capacity to inflict pain on Iran, but Iran has a much higher threshold for pain. And the view is that Iran can basically withstand in an attritional conflict way more than Israel and the US have staying power in this conflict. Let's remember that last year in the 12-day war, Iran lost about 1,000 civilians, and yet portrayed that conflict as a victory because it survived, and because it was the US and Israel who asked for a ceasefire.
Tehran appears to be adjusting its response. Rather than unleashing its entire arsenal at once, Iran is firing in controlled waves. Analysts say the country is gradually deploying more advanced weapons as the conflict evolves. That includes longer-range missile and more sophisticated drones capable of slipping through dense air defenses. Behind this strategy stands the powerful Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. The IRGC has reportedly restructured its wartime command model. Leadership is now more decentralized. Operational units can act independently if central command lines are disrupted. The idea is simple but dangerous. Even if strikes eliminate major headquarters, smaller command cells can keep the missile network active. From hidden tunnels to mobile launch teams, Iran's strategy appears designed to absorb the bombing and keep firing.
For decades, NATO has sold itself as the world's most powerful military alliance, built on one simple promise: an attack on one is an attack on all. But as the US war with Iran escalates, that promise is being put to test. President Donald Trump is now openly questioning whether NATO would actually fight alongside Washington after several European allies have refused to join the war. So why is NATO hesitating? And what does this rift mean for the future of the alliance?
The war with Iran is exposing a major crack inside NATO. While the United States and Israel have launched strikes on Iran, most European allies are refusing to join the offensive. Iran has repeatedly targeted American assets across West Asia. Multiple US military bases have come under attack from Iranian drones. Trump was expecting his European partners to come join his war. Instead, NATO countries are limiting their role to defensive support, intercepting Iranian missiles, sharing intelligence and protecting bases in the region. But they are stopping short of actually joining the war, and that is infuriating President Donald Trump. Trump has publicly slammed European allies, singling out Spain and the United Kingdom, accusing them of being very uncooperative. Trump even mocked Britain's leadership, saying this is not the age of Winston Churchill.
I'm not happy with the UK either. That island that you read about, the lease, okay, he made it for whatever reason, he made a lease of the island. Somebody came and took it away from him. And it's taken 3-4 days for us to work out where we can land there. It would have been much more convenient landing there as opposed to flying many extra hours. So we are very surprised. This is not Winston Churchill that we're dealing with.
Spain has taken an even harder stand. Madrid has flatly refused to allow the US to use its military bases for strikes on Iran. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez summed up his position in 3 words: no to war.
We must learn from history and cannot play Russian roulette with the fate of millions of people. The powers involved in this conflict must immediately cease hostilities and commit to dialogue and diplomacy.
Germany has also made it clear it will not join a war against Iran. France too is walking a careful line, deploying warships and fighter jets to protect its interests, but refusing to endorse US and Israeli strikes that it says violate international law. Although President Macron has said that France will be increasing its nuclear warheads.
I have ordered an increase in the number of nuclear warheads in our arsenal. To put an end to any speculation, we will no longer communicate on the figures of our nuclear arsenal, contrary to what may have been the case in the past. To be free, therefore, one must be feared, and to be feared, one must be powerful.
Even Britain, America's closest ally, is holding back. London is allowing US forces to use some bases only for defensive missions, while British air defenses are intercepting Iranian drones and missiles targeting regional facilities. But Britain has stopped short of joining the offensive campaign against Tehran.
Family and friends of those who are caught in the region will be worried sick about them. And of course, we've got civilians and military personnel at risk in the region. We need to act, therefore, with clarity, with purpose, and with a cool head.
The reason is simple. Europe does not want another West Asia war. Governments across the continent fear massive domestic backlash, regional escalation, and a direct confrontation with Iran. So NATO is trying to walk a very thin line, helping defend Allied bases, protecting shipping routes and intercepting missiles while avoiding direct participation in the war. But that balancing act is becoming harder by the day. As the war widens, European allies are finding themselves pulled into the conflict, whether they like it or not. And Trump is growing more frustrated. For years he has accused NATO of relying too heavily on American military power. Now, with Iran war expanding, Trump is asking the question he has always asked. When it really matters, will NATO actually fight or will it hesitate? For now, the alliance is choosing caution. But if Iran's retaliation intensifies, NATO may soon face a moment of truth. join the war or risk a historic break with Washington.
Now let's dip into a short break. On the other side, we tell you, where do Iran's most powerful allies, the Houthis and Hezbollah, stand in this war? Stay tuned. The war in West Asia is spreading, and now two of Iran's most powerful allies are back in the spotlight. From Yemen to Lebanon, the so-called axis of resistance is being tested after the assassination of Iran's supreme leader. In Yemen, the Houthis are watching carefully, calculating whether to enter the war. And in Lebanon, Hezbollah has already fired rockets into Israel, triggering a powerful Israeli retaliation. As regional fault lines crack open, the big question is this: will Iran's network ignite a full-scale, multi-front war? We tell you more.
Israel and Hezbollah are trading deadly strikes. Rockets, drones and airstrikes are flying across the border as both sides step up attacks in a rapidly escalating tit for tat. Hezbollah fired drones and rockets towards Israel earlier this week, including what it described as a swarm of drones targeting an Israeli military base near Haifa. The group says that the strikes were a revenge for the assassination of Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, in a joint US and Israeli attack.
Our choice is to confront them to the utmost degree of self-sacrifice. We will not surrender. We will defend with our capabilities and our faith, no matter the sacrifices. We are fighting in Lebanon to defend our people, the future of our children, and our homeland against the direct targeting of us and the targeting of our country.
Israel has responded with a wave of airstrikes across Lebanon. The IDF says it has struck more than 250 Hezbollah targets across the country. Earlier this week, Israeli forces hit southern Beirut, a known Hezbollah stronghold. Israel says the strike targeted Hezbollah command centers and weapons storage facilities. Across southern Lebanon, multiple towns and villages have been pounded by airstrikes, leaving dozens dead and forcing thousands of civilians to flee their homes. Israel has also sent troops into southern Lebanon, signaling that this could turn into a longer military campaign. Tens of thousands of reservists have been called up and deployed near the front line. The fresh escalation comes after a series of violent attacks which began before the US-Israel war with Iran. Despite a ceasefire agreement signed with Hezbollah in November 2024, Israel has carried out near-daily attacks, leaving hundreds dead and wounded. Israel began its offensive against Lebanon in October 2023 and escalated it into a full-scale war in September 2024. Killing more than 4,000 people and wounding over 17,000. Another key Iran-aligned force is watching from the sidelines in West Asia. The Houthis in Yemen, long seen as one of Tehran's most loyal allies, are taking a cautious approach. The group has expressed support for Iran but stopped short of promising direct military action. Analysts say that the Houthis are waiting to see whether or not Iran is truly facing an existential threat. If Tehran appears to be losing ground, the Houthis could escalate their strikes, targeting shipping lanes or even launching missiles directly towards Israel.
The US-Israel war on Iran is not just escalating on the battlefield. It is also triggering a rapidly growing economic shock across the region. Missiles and airstrikes are spreading the conflict from the Gulf to the other parts of the world. The cost of this war is already running into billions. In Israel, the economy is partially shut down. Washington is also pouring millions of dollars a day into military operations. Key maritime trade routes and logistics hubs have been hit hard. This conflict is now triggering a much wider global economic shock. We tell you what's happening.
The war with Iran is not only intensifying on the battlefield, it is also triggering a rapidly growing economic crisis. In Israel, the government now estimates that the war is costing about $3 billion every single week. The massive loss is being driven by strict emergency measures imposed after Iran fired missiles towards Israel in response to the joint US-Israeli strikes on Iran. Schools are closed, public gatherings are banned, and most businesses across the country have been forced to shut. Only essential services are allowed to operate, while thousands of reserve soldiers have been called up for the war effort. Israel's finance ministry has now warned that keeping the country under full emergency restrictions is causing massive economic damage. Officials are urging a partial reopening of businesses to reduce the economic bleeding, while still maintaining security measures. According to the Israel Central Bank governor, the economic cost of the 12 days war with Iran in June 2025 was $6 billion. This time, less than a week after the first strikes, the conflict has already morphed into a region-wide war, with targets ranging from military bases to cities and civilian infrastructure. Casualty numbers are climbing fast, with majority of the deaths reported in Iran. Washington is already spending heavily to deploy military forces across the region. Analysts estimate the US is already spending more than $59 million a day just to move troops and equipment into position. And that does not include the cost of missiles, bombs, or the loss of military aircraft during the conflict. The biggest fear now has come alive. The war has spread far beyond the region. Iran has shut down the Strait of Hormuz, a critical global shipping route through which a large share of world's oil supplies pass. Disruptions there have sent global energy prices soaring and have shaken financial markets around the world. History also shows that the true cost of war is often far greater than the early estimates. The wars in Iraq and Afghanistan were once expected to cost tens of billions of dollars. In the end, they lasted for 2 decades and cost more than $8 trillion. The human and economic costs are rising by the day, and with no clear end in sight, the price of this war may only just be beginning.
Thank you for watching the West Asia Post. I am Rhythm Sharma. I will see you next week with a brand new lineup of stories. Till then, keep watching WION World is One for major global updates.
WION Health Resort is unique, the only one of its kind. Experience the